honor to the apostles for allowing me to speak before you. From age 2 until age 12, I was raised in a home by two people in the midst of their drug and alcohol addictions. I was exposed to a lot during this time and was on the receiving end of neglect and abuse. Unfortunately, those experiences were never given the opportunity of true healing. Because I didn't want the painful memories of what happened during those years, I began to self-medicate with alcohol. I took my first drink at the age of 12. As I grew up, it was expected by my family and friends that I was going to either show up drunk or get drunk and stay drunk at every function that we had. By the time I was 36, the addiction had progressed to drinking every day for well over 10 years. Before I knew it, I was trapped in the bondage of alcoholism. It felt like I was an inmate at a level 4, 24-hour lockdown prison. By this time, the addiction was so much in charge that I drank during the pregnancy of my youngest child. Fast forward to 3 years after I had my baby, the bondage of alcoholism had its death grip on me and was not letting me go. The 6 different times I found myself handcuffed and arrested in the back of a police car, I was drunk. Every fight I had in the club, in the streets, or in public places, I was drunk. Every time I chose to emasculate my husband, disrespect my mother, or put my kids second to going out to a party, I was drunk. I would drink before I even brushed my teeth. I would go to the store in the morning and get a cup of coffee that I had no intentions on drinking. I'd get a pack of Tic Tacs and 2 small bottles of wine. I would quickly drink both bottles in my car, put several drops of eye drops in my bloodshot eyes, and pour a mouthful of Tic Tacs in my mouth and head to work. I would pick my kids up from school under the influence and show up to all their basketball games, parent-teacher conferences under the influence. I experienced massive hangovers where I found myself vomiting on the bathroom floor and sometimes passing out for 3 to 4 times a week. One night I was laying in my bed intoxicated, crying and feeling lost. I somehow found the courage to call Alcoholics Anonymous hotline and was put in touch with a woman who talked to me for several hours. Honestly, I don't remember the conversation because I was in a blackout. A blackout is basically when you drink so much that you have memory loss. I blacked out a lot during the stage of my addiction. The woman called me the next morning and invited me to an AA meeting. I ended up going to the meeting and cried the entire time. One of the women in the meeting suggested I check myself into a detox and gave me the name and address of it. I didn't know what a detox was, but I felt in my heart that I would die if I did not go. I went to the detox and waited in the lobby for 14 hours because they did not have a bed. I ended up leaving and drove to another a women's AA meeting that met on a weekly basis. I went every Monday to this particular meeting and found other meetings that I liked and went to those during the week. I made it to 30 days sobriety and then 60 days of sobriety. I couldn't believe it because there was a time when I was drinking where I couldn't go an hour without having a drink. I decided to take my daughter on vacation to Rocky Point when I had 86 days of sobriety, which was a big mistake because I was there for 2 hours and I had a shot of tequila. During my 86 days of sobriety, I began to see a faith-based therapist twice a week. By this time, I had resigned from my job and was really fighting for my life. During our sessions, she would anoint me with oil and pray over me. I met with her after I returned from my trip and informed her I had relapsed and had been drinking that day. She prayed over me, she took my car keys, and she drove me to a detox. I stayed at the detox for a few hours and then checked myself out, walked to the nearest Circle K, bought some wine, and drank those and caught a cab to my car. I wasn't ready. The addiction welcomed me back with open arms, and I remained there for about a month. One of my sober sisters called me to talk me into coming back to the women's meeting. In that moment, I decided I was done. I went to a meeting the next day. I watched the clock as it got closer to the 6 o'clock mark, when in my mind I'm thinking, what am I going to do with the rest of the day? I was petrified. I got in my car and drove to the nearest Circle K. I sat in my car, and I had to pray my way out of the parking lot. I did that 3 separate times until I made my way home that day. I began attending AA meetings at the woman's house who had spoke to me from the hotline, and she became my sponsor. I started going to church, and I started praying. My prayers were episodes of me begging God to help me. You see, something in me was telling me that God was my answer, so I began to seek Him. I began to find that my desire for God surpassed my desire for self-medicating and checking out. One week I missed a meeting at my sponsor's house so I could go to Bible study. And the next time I saw her, she looked me square in my face and said, "Don't let your church get in the way of your sobriety." I looked her square back in her face with respect and said, "My church is my meeting, my Bible is my big book, and God is my sponsor." I continued to attend AA meetings that I found that sharing the following was frowned upon. God is the reason I am still alive. God is the reason my husband has his wife back. God is the reason my children have their mom back. God is the reason I am no longer locked up on that level 4 24-hour lockdown facility.
Yes.
God is the reason I have been delivered.
Yes. Yes.
I refuse to introduce myself by saying, "Hi, my name is Jelee and I'm an alcoholic," because that is not what God made me to be.
Right. Amen.
I introduce myself by saying, "Hello, my name is Jelee and I'm a child of God."
That's it.
Now make no mistake, deliverance does not mean I'm cured. It means the temptations to pick up a drink became less burdensome and discouraging. Deliverance has been communicated as the absence of temptation. This is not true. Temptations are a normal part of the Christian experience. In Christ, I will have temptations, but I don't have to be discouraged by them because God has promised to help me.
Right.
There is no magic moment in any addiction where the want for that substance, the need to go shopping, the moment of eating 3 pizzas in one sitting, that trip to the casino, the need for just one more cigarette, the time where you're secretly watching yet another pornographic film, or having sex with a 5th person in 1 week, that you simply, it just disappears. I still have to make a conscious choice not to drink, not to walk down the alcohol aisle in grocery stores, not to go to gatherings where the main objective is to turn all the way up. So I keep my focus on my Father, and I keep feeding myself with Him, and I came to the realization that picking up a drink may be attractive, but it won't overpower me. I know I am free in Christ. I have to consciously choose to walk that way. This newfound freedom is the reason I have a grandchild that has never seen me under the influence of anything.
Amen.
It's the reason I can look in the mirror without feeling ashamed. It's the reason my kids respect me. It's the reason I work at a women's drug and alcohol treatment facility with women in the early stages of their addiction, and I can stand before them as living proof that deliverance is possible.
Yes.
By the grace of God, I will be celebrating 3 years of sobriety on July 1st.